Hi, are your new hires not ramping up to full sales productivity fast enough? Are you having a hard time getting your average performers to replicate the performance of your elite top selling performers? Are you losing to no decision more often than you think you need to? The problem might not be in your sales training. The problem might be in your product training. I'm Mark Boundy. I'm the author of Radical Value. I'm the founder of Value Clarity, and I work on this situation a lot with my clients, and I wanted to talk with you about it today. You see, here's what happens with most sales training. Sales training is about uncovering customer value gaps, and I call them value gaps. You might call them pains or gains, but the idea is your customers don't buy your product, they don't buy your solution. They buy their own outcomes for their own reasons, and how badly they want those outcomes is the value. So I call those value gaps. So great sales discovery is uncovering the customer's desired future state, their pains, their aspirations. And sometimes that might be how those pains and gains, those aspirations, those value gaps that they developed during their self-informing process, because about half the time, or for about half of their buying process, they have self-informed on the internet through consultants and so forth before they call your salespeople. Some of this value gap might be as the result of really insightful, challenging, perspective sales conversations. So this is what sales training is about. What product training is about is our capabilities, our speeds and feeds, our features, our benefits, how we compare to competitors. And the problem is the language that we use in our product training in terms of features, benefits, specs, and so forth is the language of what we sell. And the customer is thinking in a completely different language, the language of what the customer is buying, the language of outcomes. And so when we are talking to a customer in terms of what we sell, and the customer wants to know what kinds of outcomes they can buy, we basically are requiring them to fill this gap out. I can tell you through over 100 sales consultants, over 100,000, maybe up to 200,000 individual B2B sales opportunities, the average sales performer is pretty bad at understanding, articulating, and helping the customer talk about the customer outcomes. So this isn't a theoretical gap. This is the biggest gap most sales teams have. Understanding the customer's outcomes in the language of outcomes, not in the language of what you sell. So this is a big performance gap. Imagine what happens when you're expecting your customer to fill in this gap, to imagine, to translate from your capabilities, your specs, into their own outcomes. Imagine how favorable no decision looks like. This is a big reason why no decision is such a big, important competitor in your business, because you have expected your clients to fill in this gap. What happens instead of that, if instead of you expecting your customers to fill in that gap themselves, you translate your product training from the language of features and benefits and competitive comparison into the language of customer outcomes enabled by your differentiated capabilities. If you ramp up your new sales training, not with just your features, your benefits, but customers' outcome, they're much more able to quickly have great win-win value conversations. If your average performers, who are often really poor at having those outcome conversations, are given from the get-go, and your product training is in the language that the customer thinks in, outcomes, you can have those win-win conversations. What do you think happens to no decision when you have very clear, high-value, win-win conversations with your customer? I love working with my clients on this kind of issue. It's a big area of improvement for a lot of companies, and I'm thrilled that we use this and we use value networks to help develop these outcomes for customers. Look at some of my other videos on what a value network is and how to use it. This is one of the biggest uses there is for that value network. Call me if you've got any questions about your product training, you'd like to have a look at it. Give me a call or email me at mark@boundyconsulting.com. I hope you found this useful. Go out and have a high value day.